In the meanwhile, her parents grew old, and in the sorrow that nothing could assuage. The story of her fate was spread abroad, and when it reached her sisters' ears, they hastened to the lonely hearth of their parents to try to comfort them. That same night, Psyche's husband said to her, for though she could not see him, yet she could hear his voice and feel the pressure of his limbs. Dearly loved wife, cruel fate threatens you with a great danger, which only by great caution can you escape. Your sisters, mourning your death, are seeking traces of you, and soon will reach the mountain crag. If by chance you hear their lamentations, do not speak to them, and under no circumstances look on them, else will you bring great sorrow upon me and utter ruin upon yourself. Psyche bowed her head and promised her husband that she would obey his wishes. But as soon as night had passed, she spent the day in tears and dejection, complaining that she was more than ever lost, close confined in a prison of marvels and bereft of all human intercourse, unable to carry consolation to her sisters when they wept over her, nor able to see them. Refreshed neither by bath nor food, in tears she sought her bed. A moment later, her husband came, earlier than his wont, and embracing her, all tears, uttered his reproach. Is it thus that you are keeping your promises? What then can your husband expect or hope of you? By day, by night, even when in the arms of your lover, you do not cease your tears. Ah, well, henceforth do as you will. Listen to the desires that will lead you to your ruin. But you will remember my warning when too late you begin to repent. Then by prayers and by threatening to slay herself, she extorted permission from her husband to see her sisters, in order to embrace them and to calm their grief. And he, over-persuaded by the entreaties of his bride, gave way, and also permitted her to give them what gold and gems she would. But at the same time, he warned her not to be misled by the evil counsels of her sisters, and to seek to view her husband's form, lest her unholy curiosity should cast her down from her height of pleasure, and forever prevent the renewal of their embraces. With lightened heart, she thanked her husband. Rather, she said, would I die 100 deaths than break our sweet bonds. For I love you so tenderly. I love you, whoever you are, more than very life, nor would I change you for Cupid himself. Add one more boon to my prayers, and command your servant Zephyr to bring my sisters here to me, in the same way that I was brought. Pressing luxurious kisses on him, whispering soft words, and intertwining her limbs, she wooed him with passionate caresses. He fell, conquered by the power of love, and promised all. Then, at the approach of dawn, he slipped from the arms of his bride. The two sisters, having learnt the way to the crag on which Psyche had been left, hastened thither, and there they wept and mourned, while the rocks echoed back their lamentations. As they cried aloud on the name of their unfortunate sister, the sound of their voices traveled down into the valley, and Psyche, beside herself with joy, rushed out from her palace and cried, "Why do you torture yourselves with needless woe? She whom you mourn is here. End your plaints and dry your tear-washed cheeks. And now, since you can, fold in your arms the sister who has caused your tears." Then she called Zephyr and told him her husband's order. At once, obedient to command, he raised them on a gentle breeze and carried them along without harm. Now they embraced with oft-repeated kisses, and their tears, so lately dried, flowed again from joy. "But enter," she said, "my home, and in company with your Psyche, drive away all remains of your sorrow." Thus saying, she showed them the palace prodigal in gold and treasure. She called their attention to the ministering voices, and then she refreshed them with a sumptuous bath and an abundant and godlike feast. When, however, their wonder at all these marvels began to wear off, envy was born in their hearts. One of them would not leave off her prying questions as to who was the lord of this celestial abode. Who and what was her husband? But Psyche would not disobey her husband's commands and kept her secret. She made up a story that he was a beautiful youth with cheeks covered with down, who was, for the most part, occupied in hunting over the plains and mountains. And then, lest in a long conversation she might betray her secret, she loaded them with precious gifts and called Zephyr to convey them back. The two sisters returned home, and already pricked on by the bitter gall of envy, debated with each other. At last, one ended by saying, "Fortune, how cruel and unjust you are! For what reason has it pleased you that, daughters of the same parents, we should meet with such different destinies? We, who are the eldest, were married to husbands who are strangers, and whose servants we are. We live banished from our home and our parents as if exiles. But this, the youngest, the child born in a satiated bed, has all this wealth and a divine husband, she who does not know how to use rightly all this abundance. Did you see, sister, what jewels there were in the palace? How her clothing shone, how the gems glittered, how she walked on gold? What? If she also is a husband as beautiful as she says he is, no one in the world is more fortunate. Perhaps when his affection has been deepened by intimacy, her divine husband will make her a goddess. By Hercules, that is, for so she bore herself and walked. Though still a woman, she looks aloft and aims at divinity. She who has voices for servants and compels the very winds. But I, a poor wretch, fate has given me a husband older than my father, balder than a pumpkin, a boy in stature, and who keeps the whole house under lock and key." Then followed the other. "I endure a husband bent double with gout, and who for this reason can but rarely offer up a lover's dues. I spend most of my time rubbing his hands, crippled and hardened with chalkstones, making my once delicate hands all chapped and hard by preparing evil-smelling poultices, by touching the filthy bandages and foetid cataplasms. I do not fulfill the gentle duties of a wife, but the arduous labors of a nurse. That you, sister, should see all this, you who bear patiently so much suffering, or, to speak plainly, such slavery. As for me, I can no longer bear to see such good fortune fall on one so unworthy. Just think with what pride and arrogance she treated us. How with her insolent airs she disclosed a mind fraught with vanity. How out of all these riches she unwillingly threw us a few poor presents. And then, wearied by our company, she ordered us to be caught up and whisked away on the wind. I am no woman if, as I live, I do not drag her down to the ground, and if, as I expect, you feel as annoyed as I do at the affront we have received. Let us put our heads together to pay her out. For one thing, it is not necessary that we should show the presents we have received, either to our parents or to anyone else, or to tell them we are quite sure of her safety. It is bad enough to have seen those things which it has pained us to see without having to tell our parents and all the people of her happy state. Not that she can be really happy when she has no one before whom she can flaunt her wealth. Young woman, you shall learn that we are your elder sisters and not your slaves. Now, indeed, we may go back to our husbands and our humble hearths, but we have fully thought out our plans. We will return to punish your arrogance." This evil project pleased these two wicked sisters. They hid the costly gifts they had received, and then, as if they had been weeping, they scratched their faces and let fall deceitful tears. Then, when they had made their parents' grief bleed again, they went away, and, raging with jealousy, they sought their own homes, there to plan some cruel scheme for the ruin or death of their innocent sister. During their nightly interviews, Psyche received fresh warnings from her mysterious husband. "Do you not see what dangers fortune is preparing for you in the future? And if you do not arm yourself betimes, they will close in upon you. Those false hags are straining every nerve to get you into their clutches. Their chief wile is to get you to see my face, which, as I have often told you, if you see it once, you will never see again. Therefore, if these horrid witches, armed with their hate, come again, and that they will come, I know, avoid them altogether. Or, if through tenderness and affection you cannot do this, neither listen to nor answer any remarks about your husband. Here we will rear a family, and here your childish womb shall bring forth another child, destined, if you keep our secret, to be a god, if you break it, to be a mortal." Psyche grew glad at these tidings. She rejoiced in the hope of a divine child to lighten her loneliness and gloried in name and dignity of motherhood. Impatiently she counted the days and months as they passed. She wondered at the strange load she carried when her fertile womb grew big. But alas, these two pestilent furies, breathing the black poison of vipers, were hastening on their impious errand. There, the transient husband once more warned Psyche. "Now are we at the last day and have reached the last fatal moment. Now jealous hatred has armed herself, has sounded her alarm, and marches on to battle. Now, with drawn sword, your sisters seek to slay you. Alas, dear Psyche, with what dangers we are surrounded. Take pity on yourself and on me. Guard well your secret, so that you may not bring sorrow upon your husband, yourself, and our still unborn child. These impious women, who in their murderous hate towards you would trample underfoot the ties of blood, are no longer worthy to be called sisters. Take care that you neither see nor listen to them, when, like sirens, their hateful voices echo from the mountain crags." Psyche answered, sighing and in tearful voice, "You have long had proof of my faithfulness and discretion, and in this fresh trial I will show you once more the firmness of my character. Only order Zephyr to fulfill his duties quickly, and as the sight of your divine face is denied me, let me at least see my sisters. This I beseech you by your flowing and perfumed locks, by your cheeks as smooth and rounded as mine, by your breast warm with its mysterious heat. As I hope to see your features in our child, be moved by my entreaties, allow me to embrace my sisters, and make happy your Psyche, who lives for you alone. I do not ask to see your face, nor do the shades of night oppress me now. I have you, the light of my world." The husband, overcome by her soft embraces, dried her tears with his hair, acceded to her requests, and then by flight prevented the light of the dawning day. Having arranged their plot, the two sisters, as soon as they reached the land, made straight for the pinnacle without tarrying to visit their parents. Nor did they even await the coming of the wind, but insolently threw themselves into space. Zephyr, remembering the commands of his king, caught them, although unwillingly, on the lap of a breeze, and brought them safely down to the earth. Hastening to the palace, they embraced their prey, calling themselves, with lying tongues, her loving sisters. Then, hiding under smiling faces, hearts overflowing with guile, they spoke loving words. Psyche, you are no longer a little girl, but soon to be a mother. Think what a treasure you are carrying in your womb. What joy you will bring to our house. How happy shall we be to help rear this glorious child? Who should be another Cupid, if, as he is sure to do, he takes after his parents? Thus, little by little, they dupe their sister with their deceitful endearments. To rest them after their journey, she places seats for them, prepares them steaming baths, and entertains them with a feast of rare and pleasant dishes. She orders the lutes to play, the pipes to sound, the choirs to sing, and with tenderest melodies, these invisible players soothe the spirits of their hearers. Such, however, was the wickedness of the two sisters that no honey-eyed notes could soften their hearts. But they direct all their conversation with a view of entangling their sister in their nets, and to begin to inquire who and of what family and condition was her husband. Psyche, in her simplicity, forgetting the story she had previously told, makes up a fresh tale. She says her husband is from a neighboring province, engaged in commerce to Whiten. Then, not wishing to prolong this conversation, she loads them with presents and sends them back at their aerial chariot. When carried by Zephyr's gentle breeze, they arrived home. They spoke thus together. What sister shall we think of that simpleton's monstrous lies? Yesterday he was a youth with downy cheeks, now a middle-aged man turning gray. What manner of a man can he be, who has grown old so suddenly? Sister, it must either be that this lying woman deceives us, or that she does not know her husband's face. Whichever of these two conjectures holds the truth, she must be driven from her present state. If she does not know her husband's face, it must be a god whom she has married. And of a god is she pregnant? Certainly will I hang myself if she is proclaimed the mother of a god, which heaven forbid. Let us go to our parents and let us devise some scheme which will fit in with our present conversation. Burning with envy, they could scarcely speak to their parents, and through the night they tossed on sleepless beds. In the morning they hastened to the rock, and by the now habitual help of the breeze, they flew quickly through the air. They rubbed their eyes to bring forth tears, and full of guile, they called the girl. You live happily and contentedly, ignorant and incurious of the great evil and danger that surrounds you. But we, who have been keeping a sleepless watch over your fortunes, are heartbroken at your peril. For we have made a discovery, the truth of which is beyond dispute, and which we, who are companions in all your sorrow and misfortune, dare not hide from you. An immense serpent with many coils, with fangs full of poison, with maw unfathomable and terrible, each night lies sleeping by your side. Remember the Pythian oracle who proclaimed you the bride of a cruel monster? Many of the husbandmen who hunt the neighborhood, and many of our neighbors, have seen him in the evening when he has returned from the pasture and is bathing in the adjacent stream. They all believe he will not long allow you to revel in this life of sweetness, but as soon as you are at your full reckoning, he will devour you like a ripened fruit. Make your choice. Either take the advice of your sisters, whose whole care is your safety, and by flying death live with us free from all danger, or find your tomb in the bowels of this most savage monster. But of course, if the silence of this land broken only by these mysterious voices, if this foul secret and dangerous amour and the embraces of this poisonous reptile please you, we, your loving sisters, can do no more. By advising you, we have done our duty. Poor Psyche, her simple, trusting heart is overcome by these dreadful prophecies, and she loses all her presence of mind. She forgets all her husband's warnings and all her promises. She throws herself headlong into this sea of trouble. Pale and trembling, she speaks in faltering tones. Indeed, you have been loving sisters to me. What you tell me is no doubt true. I have never seen my husband's face, nor have I any idea from what country he is sprung. Only at night I hear the murmur of his voice. I embrace a husband whose position in life I do not know, and who always flies from me before the dawn. I believe you say rightly that he is some monster, for he is always in the greatest fear lest I should see his face, and foretells the greatest evils should I succumb to my curiosity. If you can help to rescue your sister, fenced round with danger, come now to her aid, for it would be worse than useless if you have told me of a danger from which, even with your help, I cannot be delivered. Now that they had discovered the whole of their sister's secret, these wicked women make haste to fulfill their infamous intentions. One of them says to her, "The bond of sisterhood compelled us to seek out every road that could lead to your safety. After deepest thought, we have found one, which we will point out to you. Take the sharpest knife you can find, strop it on the palm of your hand, and hide it in the part of the bed where you usually lie. Then take a lamp well filled with oil, so that it may burn brightly, and place it somewhere behind the curtains. All this you must do secretly. Then when, according to his wont, with trailing step, this monster has reached the bed and is chained in deep sleep, slip out of the bed on tiptoe, and with naked foot take the lamp from its hiding place and use its light to help you in your great enterprise. Seize your two-edged weapon, raise high your hand, and with a blow sever the head from the shoulders of this poisonous reptile. We will be at hand to help, and as soon as you have gained safety by his death, we will attend you and will carry you and your riches to your friends, where we will find you a husband among human creatures." Having by these words enhanced their sister's dismay, they at once leave her, fearing to stay near the scene of the intended crime. A mounted breeze carries them safely to the rock. From thence they quickly descend, and taking ship, they sail away. But Psyche is left all alone, unless to be racked with all the anguish of despair is to be in company. Her thoughts rise and fall, like the waves on a stormy sea. First, with fierce mind, her hands make ready the instruments of crime. Then she falters with wavering heart. She makes feverish haste. She stands with idle hands. She scorns all danger. She trembles. She weeps. She is enraged, for she hates the monster, but she loves the husband. Evening, however, approaches, touching everything with its shadows, and she hastens to prepare the means of her odious misdeed. Then night comes on, bringing the bridegroom in its train, who, after some amorous dalliance, falls into a deep sleep. Then Psyche, hitherto so gentle in mind and body, is driven by the force of savage fate. Gathering strength, she seizes the lamp and knife, her courage conquering her sex. The first ray of light that falls on the bed discovers its secret. There she sees the sweetest and most docile of monsters, Cupid himself. The comeliest of the gods, lying clothed in all his beauty. At this sight the lamp itself shone more brightly, and the knife was ashamed of its accursed edge. But Psyche, nearly frightened to death at this sight, loses all presence of mind. Blanched and trembling, she falls on her knees and seeks, in her own bosom, to sheath the dagger's blade, which she would have done, had not her fear made the weapon slip from her nerveless hand. But although now weakened and without defense, the sight of his godlike face strengthens her mind and comforts her heart. She sees those radiant locks, ambrosia-scented, with milk-white neck, and damask cheek over which wander those glorious curls, whose brilliancy makes the lamp's light tremble. His wings, sparkling with dew and gleaming with the whiteness of the lily, are folded at his shoulders, their delicate points moving gently with the wind, the rest of his body smooth and clear, and such that Venus had no need to blush for having borne him. And at the foot of the bed lie the bow and arrowed quiver, the great god's pleasant weapons. Curiosity seizes on Psyche. She touches and wonders at her husband's weapons. She draws an arrow out of the quiver and tries to point with the tip of her thumb, but the trembling of her hand causes her to prick too deeply, and a few beads of rosy blood ooze out through the skin. Thus Psyche all unwittingly falls in love with love and burns for him more and more. Breathless and craving, she bends over him, and although she fears to break his slumbers, she showers on him her passionate and burning kisses. But while her excited mind is all aglow with these delights, the lamp, whether through the blackest perfidy or hateful jealousy, or whether it longed to touch that beautiful form as if to kiss it, from its flame lets fall a drop of burning oil on the god's right shoulder. Oh, reckless and accursed lamp, unworthy minister of love, you burn the god who burns all others. Was it not a lover who first invented you, so that he might prolong his pleasures even into the night? The god, burnt by the oil, starts up from his sleep, and seeing his secret so shamefully betrayed, tries to fly in silence from the presence of his unhappy wife. But Psyche, as he rises, clings to his knees with both hands. She clings to him in agony as he pursues his skyward course until, tired out, she lets go and falls to the earth. The god would not leave her lying there on the ground, and alights on the top of a neighboring cypress, and from its height speaks to her in deep sadness. Psyche, foolish Psyche, I forgot the orders of my mother Venus, who commanded me to strike you with an infatuation for the meanest and most wretched of men, instead of which I myself became your lover. I see now how foolishly I acted, how I, renowned for my arrow, was wounded by my own weapon. I made you my wife. How could I have seemed such a monster to you that you would have cut off the head of him whose eyes were lit up with love for you? How often I told you to be ever on the watch. How often I warned you. Your evil advisers shall receive their reward for their wicked counsel. My flight will be sufficient punishment for you. Ending with these words, he spread his wings and flies away.